I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I think being huge, being absolutely jacked, is one of the biggest scams of present day. Let me tell you why. I used to be a really big guy. The biggest I ever was around 222 pounds at 6'2". So I'll show a picture on screen right now. That was the physique. Yeah, I was fairly lean. And also, it wasn't just my upper body. I think my lower body, my legs have always been a bit of a genetic strong point. And they were pretty freaking large. It was hard to fit into shorts that fit because if you have a smaller waist but huge thighs, you're going to find that a lot of shorts that are around your waist size just don't compensate for that thigh size because people usually aren't built like that. And honestly, they're not really supposed to be built like that. So when I first got into fitness, it made sense that I pursued this body more than just like a lean athletic body, which is what I'm going to argue for now. Because I was younger, I was obsessed with just like being the biggest person in the room and wanting to make sure that, you know, nobody compared with my physique. And the way I did that was simply to just get as big as possible. Always eating in a caloric surplus is required to do that. And that's the first issue with being as big as absolutely possible is you're going to probably have to constantly be in a caloric surplus. Now, think about humans. Humans for the past thousands of years, we've never really had the opportunity to so consistently be in a caloric surplus. Our bodies, therefore, are not really designed to constantly be in a caloric surplus. And when we go against what our bodies were designed for, in most cases, it's going to cause health issues. And so when you are eating that much, when you are stuffing your face past the point of being full, because I mean, that's really what it required, especially when I was vegan and I was eating a lot of fiber and most of the foods I was eating were very healthy and they were satiating, then you're going to naturally feel a little bit sluggish. But this is what's required kind of to be the biggest that you possibly can. Because if you're not in a caloric surplus, don't expect to build muscle the most optimally. Even though you put on a little bit of fat when you're in a caloric surplus, if you really want to pack on the most amount of muscle in the quickest amount of time, you got to be eating more calories than you burn. And that is what I was doing basically every single day. I was eating around 4,000 calories, 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day. And this required basically my entire life to revolve around food. And I became quite obsessed with just eating a bunch and making sure I was getting in as many calories as I could. And of course, that itself also isn't going to be the best for my mental health, right? If my entire life is revolving around my next meal, and if I miss a meal, then it feels like my gains are going to go away. Well, of course, that's naturally going to get to you eventually. And maybe there is some benefit to sometimes being in a caloric surplus, especially if you're a really skinny dude and you want to gain weight, and you should gain weight if you have a very skinny build. Of course, you know, eat in a caloric surplus during that time period. But when it gets to the point where obviously getting any bigger is just going to make you waddle around, that's when you need to stop. And I didn't stop during that time. I just kept trying to get bigger because I wanted to get stronger, because I knew that getting stronger, progressively overloading in the gym would make me build more muscle. I would have to say the time period when I was the biggest was one of the most unhealthy time periods of my life. Not only did I feel sluggish, but my sleep suffered because when you're eating so close to bed and you're eating such large meals before bed, which I had to do in order to even be in a caloric surplus, it's going to affect your sleep quality. And therefore, you know, my body was digesting such a large meal while I was trying to sleep, and therefore the quality of the sleep was worse. I remember I would get winded more quickly when I tried to do athletic activities, things that prove you are actually in good shape other than just the vanity of being a large muscular person. I would run out of breath more quickly. I wasn't as mentally sharp. I could get work done, that's for sure. I could push through the tiredness and sluggishness, because honestly, my entire life I've dealt with some sort of sleep issues up until like the past year or two. I could push through it, but it was definitely a point in time where it felt like almost every other day I was just so tired. And on top of that, the sluggishness and the mental fatigue also came from needing to go to the gym so much, from constantly being in the gym and from doing a ton of volume, which I was also doing during that time because I thought, if I can just get in the gym as much as possible, do as much volume as possible, that's my greatest chance to build muscle. Well, the problem with that is there's a point of diminishing returns where you go beyond that consistently and you're basically just in overtraining mode. And me personally, I find, and I don't know why this is, I feel like most of the time I need to recover more than the average person. And I wasn't really doing that when I was working out in the gym 6 days a week. So basically every other day, I was tired, I was sluggish, I had digestive issues during that time. Nothing was really great except for the fact that I could lift heavy weight, and what I saw in the mirror didn't make me want to, you already know. When we really analyze the biggest dudes in the gym, what can they actually do with that body besides these compound heavy movements or accessory movements where you're just going up and down? It barely translates to real life. Like, of course, having muscle is incredibly important for longevity and for mobility sometimes. But again, there's a point of diminishing returns with mobility in regards to muscle. But when you're so big, like I said I was, like you're basically just waddling, right? Like you can't really move your body. And especially when it comes to legs, if you have huge legs, it really does nothing for you other than having a heavy squat. And you will find if you pack on too much muscle, if you become too big, you're not going to be able to move your body in ways you used to be able to. You're not going to be as quick. Your mind's not going to be as quick. And is that really what you want, to just look fucking huge without actually having the athletic skill, the mobility skill to back that up? Like, is that what you're going to be proud of at the end of your life? Like, yeah, I just built the biggest physique ever, but I couldn't even do a squat ass to grass. No, man, I'm telling you, a lot of you guys have been convinced that being the biggest means you're the healthiest. It means that the most people are going to like you, that the most women are going to like you. Some maybe, but all of this, it gets to a point of diminishing returns. And there is so much more utility, and you will feel so much better when you escape this mindset, when you realize you don't need to be the biggest person ever. What you actually want is to feel good, right? You want to feel good on a daily basis. And let me tell you how I did that. I drastically reduced the amount of volume I did in the gym. You know how many sets I do per muscle group per week now? I do 8 maximum. 8 sets per muscle group per week. Actually, that's not entirely true. Chest and triceps, and I guess just push, because I do bench press. I do one more set of that because my chest has always been my weak point. So I'll do 10 sets of that, but 8 sets of pull per week. And this is what my physique looks like now. I am like the most mobile and functional I've ever been. And I've still maintained a pretty reputable physique. I'm spending roughly 30 minutes a session in the gym. And I would say my legs, yes, they have gone down in size, but I can actually use them now. Because guess what? 95% of my leg training now is running. And let me tell you, this combination of running and lifting, I cannot believe how much better I feel on a daily basis than when I looked maybe better to some people who are obsessed with gym culture. Like, life is just so much better. So I want to teach you how to set up this system and what my diet looks like right now and what my exact workout routine looks like right now. So I do pretty much the exact same lifts every single time that I come to the gym, because why overcomplicate it? Why am I doing this one-handed tricep pull down over my head to target the blah, blah, blah? No, you don't even need all of that, bro. Like, the best thing about bro science is probably the fact that compound lifts are actually all you need, and you just need to lift heavy weight with good form. That's how you're going to build muscle. You do that over time, you're actually focusing on improving your form and getting more weight on the bar. Like, that is actually all you need. And that's where I have a problem sometimes with science-based lifting, is like these exercises where you're like laying down or going doggy style while people are walking by you. It's just like, you don't need to do all that stuff. Just focus on the compound lift. So this is what I do. So day one of upper, it's an upper lower split, but lower is, like I said, it's basically just running. Day one of upper, I will do 3 sets of Smith machine bench press. Yes, the Smith machine is actually fine for building your chest, and it gets a bad rep. It's really just fine. You can just do a little bit more weight, and as long as you're pushing yourself pretty much to failure and really focusing on the intensity of each set, which is necessary if you're doing low volume, you really got to be pushing yourself each set, you're totally fine. So 3 sets of that, between like 5 to 10 reps, depending on the amount of weight that I put on. And I superset that with some sort of row movement. I like to superset a push movement with a pull movement. There's science to back up why that's good. I'm not even going to explain it to you. You don't even need to know. You just need to know, do a pull movement after a push movement to cut down the time of your workouts and complete it as a superset. And I'll do, again, only 2 sets of those actually. So my last set of chest press, of bench press, doesn't require a superset of a row after it. So only 2 sets of the pull movement, which is usually like a machine row or it's a barbell row. And then I will also throw in a triple set of that for the first 2 sets of neck training. So I train my neck because, I don't know, it's just been a weak point as well. And I will do where I'm holding a plate literally on my head and I'll curl it up, and then I'll put it behind my head and I'll curl it up like this. And that is my first set. And that is my first exercise set. Then there's only one more, which is 2 sets of weighted pull-ups. I've been doing weighted chin-ups recently, and supersetting that with weighted dips, and just 2 sets of both of those. And that's it. And that's the physique I've built with this upper body routine. That's all that I do, and every set is pushed so hard that I feel absolutely gassed by the end of that workout. Now for lower body, like I said, it's running. I will do 3 types of runs. The first is a VO2 max run. This is a run where you are going basically the fastest you can for a certain amount of minutes, and then you're resting in between each interval. I will do a tempo run. That's when you start at a warm-up pace, and then you do a few miles at a pretty fast pace, to the point where it's like pretty uncomfortable, and then a cool down mile. And then I will also do a long run. This is at a very easy pace, and it's a long run, as the title suggests. So for the VO2 max run, I do something called a 4x4 interval. That's when you run at basically the fastest you can for 4 minutes. You rest for 3 minutes, and then you repeat that 4 times. So there's 4 intervals of 4 minutes. It's called the Norwegian 4x4. And I've gotten to the point where I can do each interval at sub 7 minutes, which is pretty good for me at 205 pounds that I'm at right now. I think that's decent. As for the tempo run, I'm around a 5-mile tempo run right now, where the first mile is at an easy pace. Then I follow it up with 3 miles at a pretty hard pace, at a pace that's like at zone 4 heart rate. If you don't know what that is, look up heart rate zones. And then 1 cool down mile. And then for the long run, I've been increasing this pretty much every time I come across the long run in my week. And I'll explain that after I'm done explaining this part. And I've gotten up to 10 miles. That's been the last long run that I did yesterday. And this is what a typical week would look like in my split. I'm going to show it on screen right now. So I don't always have all 3 runs in 1 week. And I usually take a day off basically every other day. And this allows me to hit my upper body twice a week and then hit my lower body with the runs twice a week. So because I can't fit all 3 runs in 1 week, let me show you what the week after this week would look like. So let's say I had the VO2 max followed by the tempo run in the first week. The next week, my first lower body day would be a long run. And then I'd repeat that. It would go back to VO2 max, then tempo run, then long run. So you're not always going to do all 3 types of runs every week. Actually, you never will with this split, but that's totally fine as long as you are incorporating all 3 of these. These are all working a different type of aerobic capacity. And I want to be able to be fast, which the VO2 max allows me to do at short distances. I want to be able to run pretty fast at medium distances, like 5 to 8 miles. And I want to be able to build an aerobic base so I could just have high endurance, which is why I do the long runs. And that is it. That is my new workout split that I've been doing for quite a while now. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about diet. I intuitively eat, so I can't say much about this part, but I try to eat a good protein source with each meal. I eat healthy whole foods. I've showed like types of foods I eat now on this channel before. Yeah, there's not really much to it. Just eat healthy, eat high protein, and it varies between individuals. If you really want to understand how to set up your macros to build muscle, whatever physique you're trying to build, then I have a video on my main channel that's very old that will teach you all about how to do that. Just listen to the diet advice in that video, but not the exercise advice, because I probably tell you to do a bunch of volume. As always, I talk about the novel that I'm writing at the end of all these unscripted videos because I want you guys to know about it, because it's the most important thing I think I've worked on. It is one of the hardest things I've also worked on, and I'm really proud to bring it to you guys. It's about a 21-year-old who goes through this really tragic loss, and he develops the ability to see into a parallel reality. A lot of different themes like self-improvement, philosophy, sci-fi, fantasy in it. If you like those types of genres and you want to get into reading more, then you can follow progress updates for the novel, which should be coming out in the first half of next year by subscribing to my Substack. That's my newsletter. The link will be in the description to the newsletter. And if you want to join a community where we talk in a video call every weekend about stuff like this, self-improvement, just trying to be our best selves in an authentic way where we're not fucking yelling at each other like red pill hustle bros, then you can check out my self-mastery school. That's also linked in the description. And that is it. Please take care of yourselves. Please don't obsess over your bodies. Just try to be as healthy and fit and functional as you can. Your future self will thank you, and your present self will eventually thank you after at least a month of doing this. So goodbye.